Your boss is yelling right now, or maybe a friend is trying. A tragedy just happened. The room feels heavy, so suffocating. You are listening, you care deeply. But then your cheek, it pulls. The corners of your mouth, they twitch. You try to bite your lip. You try to stop the muscle. It escapes anyway. A smile, a grin breaks out. They stare at you in horror. They see a monster, a psychopath. You feel sick inside. You feel so wrong, so broken. Why are you smiling right now? Do you think you are mocking their pain? Or is your own body betraying your soul? You want to scream an apology. You want to hide your face, but the smile just grows wider. You are trapped inside this nightmare. The harder you fight, the worse it gets. If you just winced watching this, congratulations. You are not a sociopath at all. You are not cold or heartless. The villain here is not your personality. It is a biological survival mechanism. I know that feeling exactly. The EMPTIness hits when the conversation ends and you are left completely all alone. The heavy silence magnifies the echoing memory of your incredibly inappropriate social reaction. Your prefrontal cortex, the logical center, is screaming internally in absolute psychological horror. It replays their hurt eyes, tearing your fragile conscience apart into tiny pieces. Splo. You sit quietly, letting the intense self-loathing completely erode away your true identity. The crushing shame wraps around your chest, making steady breathing physically very difficult. You constantly replay the scene, trying to surgically remove that smile from reality. It feels like a severe biological crisis that you are utterly powerless against. Nanyin. You label yourself a defective machine, completely incapable of processing genuine human sorrow. The isolation becomes absolute when you convince yourself no one could ever understand. W-mind transforms into a relentless courtroom where you are the condemned prisoner. You stare into the mirror, questioning the very core of your moral compass. The memory of that awkward grin slowly consumes whatever social confidence you had. You are exhausted by this internal war between your intentions and physical reactions. This disconnect between your heart and your face feels like a cruel joke. The lingering gooey guilt sinks into your bones, creating an incredibly heavy physical burden. Just. Please understand this is not a reflection of your actual true personal character. This is purely a biological crisis operating far beneath your conscious surface awareness. But before you continue to punish yourself, you really need to hear this. The undeniable truth is your prefrontal cortex, the sophisticated executive CEO of your brain responsible for maintaining absolute social composure, is currently running on terrifyingly empty fumes. After surviving a brutal 8 to 10 hour workday filled with endless artificial networking, meticulously calculating every single polite response, constantly suppressing your authentic frustrations just to remain employed, and heavily burning through your finite blood glucose reserves simply to appear as a highly functioning adult, your system experiences profound exhaustion. You are experiencing a massive cognitive overload, precisely what evolutionary neuroscientists define as ego depletion. Let me paint a clear picture of what is happening inside your skull right at that devastating moment of inappropriate smiling. Imagine forcing yourself to desperately navigate a fragile vehicle through a catastrophic thunderstorm on a pitch-black, treacherous highway where the heavy windshield wipers are violently thrashing at maximum frantic speed. The broken dashboard radio is relentlessly blasting aggressive static noise. The exhausted children are screaming hysterically in the cramped back seat, and your violently burning eyes must urgently decipher a completely blurred exit sign just to miraculously survive the night, while the freezing rain violently pounds against the cracked glass, rapidly tearing away every single last shred of your remaining psychological sanity and desperate focus, plunging your nervous system into total chaos, and you shut down. Your logical brain simply gives up. When you are suddenly trapped in a deeply heavy room with a furiously yelling boss or an uncontrollably weeping friend, that intense atmospheric negative tension acts as the final fatal blow to your cognitive capacity. The sheer volume of raw sorrow or aggressive anger directed at you requires an astronomical amount of metabolic energy to perfectly process, categorize, and mirror back with the socially correct expression of solemn empathy. But because your biological battery is critically drained, your sophisticated empathy centers undergo catastrophic depletion. You are completely paralyzed by the sheer weight of the emotional data. Your exhausted reasoning faculty cannot compute the appropriate response fast enough to match the terrifying external pressure. It is a literal biological system crash under the crushing weight of adult responsibilities and extreme empathetic demands. When the conscious driver has finally collapsed completely on the steering wheel, the brain is forced to call stunt doubles to take over. The stunt double steps into the glaring spotlight. You know this eerie phenomenon intimately well. You reverse your car down the driveway. You cross exactly 3 familiar intersections. Suddenly, a cold shudder hits your spine. A sudden wave of disorientation washes over you. Did you press the garage door remote? You stare ahead into the amnesia. You have absolutely no conscious recollection. Your mind is trapped in the Incongruous. Or consider your exhausting daily evening commute. You drive 15 miles down the interstate. You merge flawlessly through heavy rushing traffic. You navigate dangerous curves with lethal precision. You arrive safely in your quiet driveway. You turn off the heavy roaring engine. You sit blindly in the absolute stillness. You recall absolutely zero passing vehicles. You remember no sudden lane changes at all. You have absolutely no memory of the journey. You were entirely swallowed by the vide. Who drove that car for the past 15 miles? It was the basal ganglia. It operates strictly in the silent shadows. It is your fiercely loyal, blind butler. It quietly observes your daily exhausted routines. It studies your incredibly predictable human habits. It memorizes your most frequent behavioral patterns. Then it groups them into solid blocks. Neurologists call this precise survival process chunking. It converts complex tasks into muscle memory. It builds an invincible wall of autopilot. You do not need to consciously think anymore. The blind butler executes the protocol flawlessly. You slide easily into a deep trance. The physical actions happen completely by themselves. Your conscious mind floats in total blankness. You exist entirely in a state of absence. The basal ganglia simply takes the wheel. It manages the heavy pedals with ease. It turns the steering wheel flawlessly. It checks the rearview mirrors automatically. It requires zero input from your exhausted CEO. This is a brilliant evolutionary neurological design. It saves immense amounts of critical mental energy. It protects you from absolute cognitive collapse. You survive the demanding day entirely on reflexes. You function flawlessly within this profound detachment. The physical body moves with mechanical precision. The conscious mind rests deeply in the nothingness. It is a perfect system of survival. It takes the heavy burden off your shoulders. It allows your exhausted brain to finally breathe. You become a perfectly efficient biological machine. This autopilot mode is undeniably perfect. But for this unconscious machine to truly get addicted to something, it needs a spark. That spark is the overwhelming presence of a dominant threat. We collectively suffer from a monumental biological misunderstanding regarding human expressions. This is exactly like walking into your kitchen and opening your completely empty refrigerator for the 5th consecutive time today. You know perfectly well there is only half a carton of stale milk inside, but your exhausted brain still relentlessly whispers, "Open the door. Perhaps something has appeared." That restless compulsion to endlessly check your corporate email on a quiet Sunday evening is precisely the same false drive. You are opening a completely empty digital space. You are not actually searching for genuine happiness. You are not looking for real satisfaction. You are merely trying to quench an agonizing thirst for relief. Your intensely inappropriate grinning under severe emotional distress is exactly like opening that depressingly empty refrigerator. It is a desperate biological reflex. You are absolutely not feeling any actual joy. You are not experiencing a secret sadistic amusement in the face of tragedy. This is the grand isle illusion of modern social interpretation. People mistakenly perceive your smile as an expression of arrogance. They are completely blinded by the superficial expectation of normal human reactions. The truth exists far deeper within our primitive neural architecture. You do not smile because you are a broken psychopath. You smile because you are an ancient animal trapped in a modern cage. In the brutal animal kingdom, baring your teeth in a visible grin is a classic submissive gesture. It is a universally recognized flag of absolute surrender. A weaker wolf explicitly bares his teeth to the aggressive alpha. "I surrender completely. Please do not tear me apart." When your furious boss violently towers over you, your nervous system immediately registers the presence of a lethal apex predator. The sheer terror instantly bypasses your completely depleted prefrontal cortex. It flips the emergency biological switch to forcefully flood your system with protective endorphins. It violently, mechanically pulls the muscles around the corners of your mouth upward. Your brain is desperately broadcasting a primitive silent SOS signal. I am entirely harmless. I submit to the dominant force. You are not expressing a toxic emotional disconnect. You are literally begging for your biological survival in the sterile corporate jungle. Society relentlessly labels this a profound psychological defect. They demand solemn tears when your body is executing a masterful defensive maneuver. The trick is believing that every smile is born from delight. The reality is that some smiles are forged in the fires of pure panic. You hate this humiliating physical reflex and think your brain is broken? You are wrong. Your agonizing social paralysis is absolutely not a bug in your fragile psychological framework. It is an incredibly sophisticated premium feature designed by millions of years of brutal evolution. It is actively deploying a masterful defense mechanism against a perceived and imminent lethal threat. When the apex predator roared in the ancient, unforgiving wilderness, our resilient ancestors did not analyze. They did not calmly process the emotional nuances of the looming physical danger approaching them. They survived by instantly triggering the primal biological reflex known universally as the freeze response. Your inappropriate smile is the direct, modern manifestation of this highly effective ancient survival strategy. The crushing weight of the social expectations is strictly interpreted as a direct physical attack. Your overloaded nervous system completely shuts down to systematically minimize the incoming devastating psychological damage. You are the triumphant biological descendant of the absolute most adaptable survivors on this planet. Your body fiercely prioritizes your continued physical existence over your temporary social grace and politeness. We are desperately trying to operate ancient survival hardware in a completely sterile modern environment. It is profoundly unfair to judge your primal reflexes by artificial and restrictive modern etiquette standards. The uncomfortable grin is your brain rapidly wrapping a protective shield around your exhausted psyche. It forces a physical release of tension when your conscious mind is completely paralyzed entirely. This is the profound wisdom of your biology working exactly as it was perfectly designed. You do not need to urgently fix this deeply ingrained and powerful evolutionary survival response. You only need to understand the powerful protective intention behind the awkward physical facial manifestation. Your body is fiercely guarding you against the overwhelming flood of harsh external emotional stimuli. It silently absorbs the massive shockwave of the tragedy so your delicate mind does not shatter. This is a specific moment to feel profound gratitude for your highly intricate biological armor. You are perfectly designed to withstand the terrifying storms of the brutal and chaotic human experience. Do not ever apologize for the ancient machinery that is desperately trying to save you. Embrace the incredible truth that your perceived flaw is actually your greatest biological shield forever. When you finally recognize this ancient shield for what it truly is, the heavy chains of profound social guilt will naturally begin to fall away from your exhausted shoulders. You are fundamentally so much vaster than those temporary mechanical breakdowns. And realizing this profound truth is the very first quiet step toward your ultimate psychological liberation. 2. The path to inner peace does not require forcing your tired mind into submission. It simply asks you to observe the storm with quiet grace and deep compassion. We spend our entire lives desperately trying to fix what was never actually broken. Completely ignoring the profound beauty of our own inherent and incredibly delicate human fragility. The next time you feel that awkward physical reaction creeping up during a tragedy, just pause and breathe deeply into that precise moment of intense emotional vulnerability. Lo sai bo. Do not fight the rising tide of your own protective biological reflexes. Just gently acknowledge the quiet suffering that your body is trying so desperately to shield you from. Healing is not about achieving a state of absolute and unwavering social perfection. It is about cultivating a deep and radical forgiveness for your own deeply misunderstood survival mechanisms. You must learn to sit quietly beside your deepest and most awkward insecurities. Holding them with the same immense tenderness you would offer to a frightened and shivering child. Your consciousness is the infinitely deep ocean containing all these turbulent waves. Not, and the ocean is never truly disturbed by the frantic motion occurring purely on its surface. Let the gentle silence of this realization slowly wash over your entire being, dissolving years of accumulated self loathing into a tranquil state of profound and unconditional self acceptance. Dissolve. True awakening happens exactly in the quiet spaces between your most imperfect reactions. Top Y, where you finally choose radical compassion over the endless cycle of harsh and unforgiving internal judgment. Top Y. You are the peaceful sky observing the passing of these strange emotional clouds. And the sky never feels the need to apologize for the sudden arrival of the rain. As you finally let go of the relentless need to be perfectly understood, you will discover a quiet and profound sanctuary of absolute peace residing deeply within yourself. Dot 1. There is a profound comfort in finally realizing that you are never actually broken. 9. You are merely a beautifully complex being navigating an overwhelmingly loud world. If you feel ready to stop fighting your own biology and gently explore the quiet truths resting beneath your surface, fresh, 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 fresh. Please stay right here with me on this peaceful journey inward. We will patiently unravel the next layer of your human consciousness together.